Welcome everyone, Costin here with a discussion about Njord in Age of Mythology Retold, who might very well be the most overpowered and broken minor god in the game at the moment, at least based on multiplayer statistics. Now we don't know exactly which minor gods people are using, but what we do know is that the two major gods that have access to Njord are currently dominating in the multiplayer meta as it is, across all ELO levels. Like if you're looking at online statistics, you'll see that both Odin and Loki both have access to Heimdall and Njord are currently doing very well in the multiplayer. Now Heimdall is certainly contributing to that, as are their benefits, because when considering a minor god, you gotta consider how well it's gonna work with the playstyle of the major god that they're part of. Well, both Odin and Loki, even notwithstanding the minor god benefits that they do have, both of them have very significant benefits. Odin has HP regeneration for human units and heroes. He has better gathering rate for food. He gets a favor benefit for Great Hall units. That is a pretty substantial freaking benefit, by the way. Loki, he gets free myth units summoned by Herseers in particular, but all human soldiers can contribute to that. They do extra counter damage, so cavalry, infantry, dependent on what you're dealing with and what you have. Buildings are constructed 25% faster, and ox carts are 50% cheaper. So all these things are fairly substantial benefits that shouldn't be ignored. But the one element they have in common, besides Heimdall, is, of course, Njord. Well, Heimdall and their extra scouting ability. I think it says a lot about the multiplayer situation that two of the gods that are dominating right now both have scouting benefits, both have the same minor god choice in H2, Heimdall, that is fairly strong. Don't get me wrong, Freya is pretty useful as well for Odin, but both of them also have access to Njord. And I think it is Njord that not so much is responsible for their situation, but basically if you're ending up in an online game, it is a hell of a thing to deal with Odin or Loki in H2, as it is. But the problem is, once they get to H3, like, you can play a game against an Odin or Loki player, and they would be very aggressive against you, especially Odin, if he goes with Freya. And even Heimdall, they could put you on the defensive, and you might be able to hold them off, or you're trading blows, maybe you're aggressive, all that. But all of that is going to come to a swift end the moment they get to H3. Or you're certainly going to be put on the back foot once they get to H3 because of Njord. Because the power spike that Njord provides is ridiculous. Like, we can talk about Sign of Osiris, we can talk about Earthquake, sure. H4 gods are very substantial, but here's the thing. When you consider H4, every civilization has one god that can provide a substantial benefit. Lightning Storm for Hera, Earthquake for Hades and Poseidon, Meteor, Tornado, Sign of Osiris. There's a lot of choices, but in H3, the situation is very different. Sure, you can talk about ancestors, you can talk about some other things as well, absolutely. But I don't think anything compares to the raw power potential that a Norse player, as either Odin or Loki, is going to get from Njord. So first off, Walking Woods. What do these guys do? They're decent against units. They're not so easy to take down, necessarily by human soldiers. I mean, you obviously can, but, getting 6 units or so, or a number of free units that are pretty decent and especially good against buildings, can be a problem. That is a power spike. But it's not just one power spike, it's several power spikes at the same time. Or shortly thereafter, after you see an Odin or Loki player getting into H3. The second power spike is the Mountain Giant. Mountain Giants are really good against buildings, and once you upgrade them with Jotuns, they become good against pretty much everything, except heroes, of course. Then you have Ringgiver. Ringgiver is an absurdly strong upgrade, because one, it's not really that expensive in terms of gold. Sure, favor cost, different discussion. But in terms of gold, not really expensive, and yet it buffs Jarl HP by 25%. Think of this situation. Imagine you're playing as Odin. Chances are you might want to go cavalry anyway, with Freya in particular. Go raiding, go harass the opponent. That means you already have a cavalry speed and HP benefit. And it also means you're getting cavalry upgrades. Then you get to age 3. And suddenly, you start producing Jarls. And you get, the heavy cavalry upgrade, you get the Ringgiver upgrade. You suddenly get a much more powerful unit, human soldier, than any other human soldier is in age 3. I mean, in age 4 you have, of course, things like fanatics, heteroi, myrmidons, etc. Sure. But Jarls, with the exception of war elephants, Jarls are flat out the best age 3 unit in the game. In war elephants, you have to first construct the Migdal stronghold once you get to age 3. You have to get their upgrades, which are unique to them, the war elephant upgrade, and they're not cheap. And they also don't train necessarily as fast. Whereas with the Norse, you're already going to have that production up and run. Regardless of how you play the Norse, you are going to have these buildings to produce. If you're playing as Odin, you would probably get them for cavalry or Herseers. More likely for cavalry. If you're playing as Loki, you would get them for Herseers. And so it's very easy to switch production to Jarls and get the substantial benefit. But the final kicker is if you're playing as Odin specifically and you're doing a lot of raiding against your opponent, you suddenly get your raiding cavalry also generating gold in addition to favor while fighting enemy units. And so your economy becomes stronger. And obviously, these are upgrades, but there is nothing here on this list that Njord provides that isn't a tangible, substantial benefit that you can easily get and use once you get to age 3. And that is uncommon. Let me just go through the list. Let's just consider some other choices. You talk about Dionysus. Well, consider Dionysus. Yes, bronze is a powerful ability. Sure. But the trees do last. But think on other things. Thracian horses is a powerful upgrade once you get a bunch of other cavalry upgrades. For Hypaeus, I wouldn't necessarily say it's that, make or break thing as an upgrade. Because Hypaeus, they're not the most durable of units. Just gotta keep that in mind. Hydras, sure, good units. Regeneration, pretty solid upgrade. Mountain Giants, unless you're dealing with a Hydra that has multiple heads, Mountain Giants are the better unit, flat out. Dionysa, pretty solid choice, to be sure. Apollo, I'm not even going to talk about him. Aphrodite, yes, Nemean lions are strong, but consider her upgrades. Those are economic upgrades that are going to take some time to really see a net benefit for. And that's the thing, Aphrodite's upgrades are a significant benefit, but they're not an instant boost. Nemean lions and Curse are an instant boost, sure, but it's gonna take far longer with, golden apples and divine blood to really make that worth it. And you can say the same about, Vikings and the situational there, but, Ringgiver is still also there. What about Egyptians? Well, you do get funeral rites, that is a benefit. You get Nepti, sure. But again, between ancestors and the walking trees went out. Between scorpion men and mountain giants went out. And, consider other options, right? We can consider Sekhmet, who's buffing your chariot archers, but then you'll run into the same issue where you have to build a building to get that benefit. I would say the most significant benefit for Sekhmet is the force of the west wind. And I mean, sure, there's some other gods that do come close. Absolutely, the Dryads, the Amphibian Bird, all these upgrades that, Thea is able to provide. I don't dispute that, or, Hyperion. But it's this combination of having really strong major gods coupled with a really strong minor god that makes Njord so deadly. It would be a bit different if, Freyr had him. Maybe Freyr should have him as opposed to, Bragi. Various mythological reasons behind that. But all the same, as things currently stand, for Odin and Loki, who are already powerful enough as it is, having that extra edge is what puts them at the top. And that is why Njord is so powerful. Because other gods might be strong, but they're not so strong in a situation that it literally changes the win rates online. Because of how powerful it is and how well it meshes with the playstyles that both Odin and Loki have. That is why Njord stands at the top. Costin here, signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications. Stay tuned for more. And it's kind of hilarious, by the way, to say he has a focus on cavalry. I'd say he has a focus on freaking siege.